hope gives you a reason to go on. I was a survivor of every type of abuse you could possibly imagine, from physical to emotional to sexual to bullying to torturing. I mean, you just name it. I've lived through it. Without hope for a new day, hope for a new thing, hope for a new goal, hope that it's so intertwined into every action of every day. And hope is a matter of decision. People don't think they have control over their emotions. I believe people do have control of their emotions. Absolutely. You can decide to have hope, or you can decide to not have hope. Get busy living, get busy dying. Hi, I'm Barbara Ochoa. I have an organization called helpforguys.org, and I share hope.
Welcome to I Share Hope, the podcast where world leaders share their real stories of hope and how you can use actionable hope to start changing your life today. And now, here's your host, Chris Williams.
There you go. Perfect.
Oh, God.
Awesome.
Oh, okay. Well,
how's that working?
I guess the background's okay.
I think the background's fine.
Okay, well.
I love no, you got to love the backgrounds. The backgrounds are real. And I think, honestly, the backgrounds end up.
Let me pull down one of the blinds here. I'm just looking like me in the raw here.
You're great.
How's this?
Perfect. Yeah, okay. Great. The lighting's a lot better now. Yeah, it's good. You're not getting the big shadow behind you.
I can get a better light if you want a little more. I know that light is everything to a camera.
That's what I hear, but you know a lot more about production than I do, I'm sure.
Well, my glasses are just going to do what my glasses do. So, okay, well,
that's glasses. Well, let me tell you how this thing works. So this is technically a nonprofit because I'm just paying for it because I'm passionate about it. So what I've done is through kind of my own healing process, a counselor told me probably a year and a half ago, hey, man, you need to start kind of finding people that you respect who have hope and see if you can actually learn something about hope enough that you could really grab onto something tangible there. So that's really where this started. And as I started talking to people in my own community that I knew, collecting a few stories, I'd tell some friends, hey, I talked to this guy, I didn't know about the story, and this lady said this, and they said, man, you need to record those things. I want to hear that too. So that kind of turned into, what do I do with recordings? And then it really turned into a research project. And I'd have to say I'm a person who has a very small amount of hope right now. I'm not trying to be melodramatic, but just being honest. And I'm just determined to figure it out. And so I get to talk to really cool people like you who've kind of led the way in some hopeful things and are doing something tangible that I can grab onto and say, so that's a good example of how to grow in hope or how to build hope or lead somebody else in hope.
Wow. I don't know what to say.
I'm just saying thank you, honestly, because I appreciate your time and willingness to teach me is really what this comes down to. A lot of other people enjoy listening into it, evidently, but I'm really not trying to be, promoting this amazing podcast on the world of podcasting because there's a lot of.
I'll promote it. Just
well, there's a lot of podcasts out there that are a lot better than this, and I'm learning that hope is something that humans kind of universally grab onto, and so appreciate your help.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Whatever I can do.
Well, tell me this then. You've seen the 5 questions, so I'll roll through those questions. I follow that Interview 101 document that you probably have pretty much to the letter. I just kind of roll through the questions. This is about you, not me, and I'm here to learn. And I just want to make sure that I get a couple of things right. First, what name do you want me to use, or both?
You can use my real name, Barbara Ochoa, Ochoa.
Okay, Barbara Ochoa. Got it.
I kind of retired from being a recording artist.
Okay.
So I just reverted back to my name that I was given at birth.
I wondered about that. I was talking to Sai this morning, and she helps get all the guests set up. And I said, I wonder why she does 2 names. And I was thinking of all the cool names that I'd want to be called if I got to be a rock star someday. She said I should just stick with Chris Williams. None of my names were good enough. So, tell me this then. When I get started, I'll introduce you real quick.
Okay, let me close this other blind because it's
Okay.
got a glare. I think that's better, right?
Yeah, it is. It totally doesn't put a shadow behind you, which is really nice.
Hold on. There's another glare. Let me get rid of all these mean old glares. Now that I'm... All right.
How's that?
This is what it is. This is what it's going to be.
This is
and
perfect.
That's just what it is.
I love it. Perfect. So, Barbara Ochoa.
Yes.
That sounds like maybe a Central American or Islandish or Native American name.
Oh, it's Hispanic.
Hispanic. Okay. Cool. Well, Central America worked there. That's great.
That's close enough.
And you're in LA?
No, I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, I love San Francisco.
I used to live in LA. I lived in LA for a long time, about 8 years.
So this is
the
5. Bag I was carrying around all day today with just my
I love LA.
laptop and stuff.
No, I love LA.
And
LA, I consider it's like my home.
In my bag today is the travel guide for San Francisco. Can you believe that? Hilarious,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
We were there about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Just took our kids out there, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, it is a gorgeous place.
Mm-hmm. I heard y'all got a little shakeup yesterday.
You know, I've lived in California so long, a shakeup doesn't even... Whatever. I've had way worse earthquakes when I lived in LA than... Even when I visit LA, it's like the earthquakes are so much worse there that this is nothing.
Oh, good. It sounds like just the perfect kind of earthquake to experience. A little vibration, but nobody gets hurt, right?
But when the furniture starts jumping around, yeah, those are scary. When the cars start jumping up and down, like those low riders, and they all start doing this, yeah, that's crazy.
Wow. All right. Well, let me jump in here. So I'm gonna just say who you are. And a very small amount about your background because I don't want to spoil the whole thing for everybody else. And then I'll ask you a little about what you're doing today and just where you are in life, what you ate for breakfast. I don't care. You say whatever you want. And then I'll, once you're kind of done talking about you for a sec, I'll jump in there with question 1 and we'll just chat about it. It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Barbara Ochoa from San Francisco, California. Experienced an earthquake yesterday.
I didn't notice.
California girl who just is so over it. The 4.0s don't even bother her, right?
No.
Well, okay. So Petra Luna was your stage name. Yeah. And
many years.
Great history there in the arts and performing, music, actress, the whole bit. And Barbara Ochoa is your real name. And now you are really just super focused on abuse prevention and healing and advocacy for, I guess, in particular, sexual abuse cases. Is that correct?
No.
Is it all kinds? Okay.
You're
Well,
close.
you go for it. Tell us about what's going on so I can make sure I want to get this right before we jump into our questions.
Okay. Well, I'm a musician by trade. I still work as a musician. I was a survivor of every type of abuse you could possibly imagine, from physical to emotional to sexual to bullying to torturing. I mean, you just name it. I've lived through it. And I when I first got into the cause, I was recording through my 20s and 30s, and so I'm in my 40s now, and there's no shame in my game. I'm in my 40s. There ain't no shame in my game. Okay. But anyway, as I went into recording music, I found that it was an outlet for all this anger and pain and all these problems. It's like a bubble of stress, and you have to find a way to get rid of that anger and pain and talk about it and shame and all those things. And I found music to be a very helpful vehicle for that. I also I got a lot of fans that were also victims and started understanding, and that's kind of what built the fan base and stuff. And I was an activist for a long time, and then it was more brawn, and now I'm more into the causing. I'm sorry. I'm more into fighting for my cause with brain than brawn. As you mature in your when you first get into a cause, you're very angry. You're very angry. You're dealing with your own issues. You hear about other people. You're just angry.
Yeah.
So as you mature in your cause, you start calming down and figuring out how to really solve problems. Does that make sense? So
that does make sense. It's a change, and it is a change that just takes time and wisdom, and I don't know, time.
A lot of time. So I started out in domestic violence. I was on the board of directors for a domestic violence charity for women for a long time, and I just didn't see myself. It just wasn't my flavor of direction. Although I learned a lot. I learned how abusive relationships can completely consume you, because I've been in an abusive relationship where I was completely consumed, almost to where if I'm not with that person, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to die. So this is, I understand what it's like to be under that spell of an abuser, and it just wasn't my flavor. So I jumped into child abuse, and I started working as doing online activism, going after sex offenders and trying to shut down websites and just all kind of craziness. That was a very bizarre period. I got a lot of death threats. It was very weird.
Wow.
But anyway, I kept doing music, and I was just like, why isn't anybody? Well, the hardest part of, I do male abuse awareness. That's what I do now. And that's bringing awareness to the plight of men that are abused. And everybody's like, well, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Well, if you really think, now, what people don't want to talk about is the cycle of abuse. And I understand, because men that are in the anti-abuse cause, they don't want to be perceived as a potential threat or potential child molester, But the problem is, nobody wants to talk about the cycle of abuse. If you don't talk about the cycle of abuse, you're not helping anybody.
Right.
And I believe that a lot of men, if you can encourage them at a certain point in their growth, where before they become fathers or before they become men in the community, if you can get them help for that past abuse, it could very well change their life and have them not go down in the wrong direction, whether it's go into perversion or drug addiction or sex addiction, or or just get angry and just start, beating people and domestic violence and things like this. And people it's a very difficult cause. People don't want to talk about men and their feelings and their past and their abuse. I mean, there's so much resistance to dealing with male abuse, but I believe that this is how I can help women and children, is by not bringing to fruition so many wife beaters and child molesters. It's like nobody's asking that question. Why is there so many of these people?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't really, you can't really stop abuse from happening. It's going to happen, but you can help young people go in the right direction. Mm-hmm. That's what male abuse awareness is. And, it's a fascinating topic, and I can go on and on and on about it, but I don't want to take up your whole show talking about it. But
So
that's kind of what it is. It's a very difficult cause. There's many times where I just wanted to throw up my hands and say, I can't do this anymore. There's too much resistance. Nobody wants to put their name on it. Nobody wants somebody to think I'm a fag. They're a fag. it's a very difficult cause. But, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. Mm-hmm. So I just keep trucking along.
So is this what you do full time? Like, this is your work?
No, I'm a musician. That's how I make most of my money.
Okay, so you pay the bills being a musician still. Great. And then
yeah,
wow.
I mean, now the foundation does bring in money for itself. It takes care of itself.
Right.
But just trying to climb that ladder and get it to go to the next level, it's been very, very difficult. And
that's what I'm picturing. You doing full-time musician work and being leading this cause at the same time. That's a lot of time.
Well, I'm a workaholic. Even on my off time, I'm running a company. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
But being a musician is not like you have to be somewhere 8 hours a day on your feet. I mean, you do a gig, you go for 4 hours, you make your money, and then you come home and you have lots of time. It's not like I'm killing myself, but I
That's
feel
great.
like I feel like I don't. I mean, I'm not a very religious person. I am Christian, but if you're gonna be a Christian, you can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. And many people don't realize that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Christianity for sure, and any religion. People don't respect a belief system unless there's some solid action behind it. Yeah.
Amen. Okay.
Well, I guess let's fire the questions away because you're coming at this from a really unique perspective. You've got a lot of background in media, acting, music, just an industry that most people don't really ever see the inside of other than the special features reel or something like that. And then you've also got such a perspective on abuse situations and how to work through that. And then you got your own world, your own story, your own stuff that's, impacts all of us. And real is always the best conversation because we can always connect to that, So question 1, it's up to you on this stuff where we go. What is your definition of hope, or your favorite quote about hope, or your belief about hope? Take it wherever you want.
Well, I did my homework. I read your question.
I knew you would. I can tell your work is always well done.
I think hope gives you a reason to go on. Without hope for a new day, hope for a new thing, hope for a new goal, hope that it's so intertwined into every action of every day. I hope there's a day when, society doesn't shun male victims of abuse, that we can talk about it and men can show vulnerability and, things like that. I mean, I hope for that. That's what keeps me going. People like you are what keeps me going. So, you're bringing me hope as we speak. So, but hope is definitely a vehicle. I think it's an everyday vehicle.
That's a really good way to say that. Something that keeps you going. It really is. You need something to push forward on. Okay, so if that's the definition, hope is being something that allows you to move forward. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. It drives you forward.
Yeah. So it drives you forward. Who has been then? Question number 2. Who's shared the most of that kind of hope with you? Who's given you that drive to move forward?
Well, I could talk about music, but I to correct you, I've never been an actress. Actually, I've always been a musician, a recording artist. I can't read a menu. Trust me, I can't read a script. Yeah, I can't read.
I think anybody who can stand on stage and not completely freak out in front of an audience is an actor or an actress.
Audiences are easy.
Not for most people.
It's the one-on-one that's scary. But anyway, I would talk about musically, but I'm going to talk about. Since I think we're on the abuse cause. What it wasn't really.
You can take it wherever you want. Really, this is not about any certain cause.
It wasn't really a person. I mean, there were people who, stayed on the phone with me all night long, so I don't do something crazy. Those people gave me hope, but gosh, that's a tough one. I'll just tell you a story and see if this makes sense. I was in a very, very, very abusive relationship back in my late 20s. And that was the one I'd mentioned earlier where this person had such a spell on me that, I was allowing this person to do anything to me. I was just anything to keep this person in my life. I mean, this man literally controlled me and his children and everybody around him. I mean, he was a true predator. And I couldn't I understood my vulnerability, my vulnerability to getting connected to somebody who's a predator and who's that abusive. But when I decided that it was time to break from him, I had a little calendar on the day, and every day I did not speak to that fool, I put an X, right? And then, believe it or not, after 5 days, I was like, oh my God, I didn't speak to him. I didn't try to reach out to him. I mean, it wasn't that I wasn't thinking about him constantly, but it was just like a little exercise of hope. And about 2 weeks into it, I was, this man's ex-wife, who I have stories on blogs all about this story. But anyway, this man's ex-wife who told me to get away from him. She was on the phone with me, but another person can only do so much. You're going to have to spend those nights alone and feel that cold bed and deal with your pain and your hurt. And I looked up at a poster I had done with this singing trio group. And here I was this young woman, my whole life ahead of me, and I'm sitting here wanting to die because some abusive fool, needs to be out of my life and cheated on me and didn't want to talk to me and all this stuff. And I looked up at that photo of myself, and it was two girls. It was a trio of girls, singing girls. And I looked up at that photo and I was like, I look pretty good. I said, I'm a young, talented woman. I mean, what am I wasting my life away in this bed for? And, it was just kind of when you remove yourself from yourself and you kind of look at what your potential is, I think that brings hope. That's what pulled me out of that. One of the darkest periods of my life was looking at that photo of myself in a better time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And saying, wow, I can be that again and better.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. It really is. I've not heard anybody say that, to look back in your own history and find that better you that right then you can get there, because it's not something that's in a self-help book. It's no, I've done that. I know I can get back to that, and then you can work from there and move forward and more. Huh.
Well, and hope is a matter of decision. You can decide to be hopeless, or you can decide. People don't think they have control over their emotions. I believe people do have control of their emotions. Absolutely. You can decide to have hope, or you can decide to not have hope. Get busy living, get busy dying. I mean,
yeah.
I saw that movie.
It's well said. Well said. All right. So question 3 then. I mean, you just took us back to a really clear time when hope was not one of those things that was just hanging out on your front doorstep. So, question 3 is, though, taking us back to that story, that time, and you may say, hey, we just did it, of what was it like in your life when you didn't have hope, and how did you get out? But I think really you just answered question 3 too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really intentional hoping,
Well, because other people, people can inspire you to excel, but I think only you can give yourself hope.
Wow.
That's my opinion. Now, I've had people inspire me to succeed. I had a mentor in college who told me, girl, you're going to be a singer. And if it wasn't for her, I consider that inspiration, though.
Okay.
I don't consider that hope.
Good point. There is a difference.
You can only manufacture hope in your own self, in your own psyche, in your own will. Sometimes some people can find it through religion. Some people can find it through exercise. Some people can find it through, you're either going to go on a path to live or path to go down. Yeah.
So you started back on the good path, kind of looking back at that trio and what you could be, what you were in the past, and you go back there. But, do you stumble and fall at all along that path where you're like, oh, now I'm wishing I wasn't doing this again, or I'm slipping back down? And does that ever become hopeless where you're thinking, I just can't keep doing it right long enough to make this thing last?
Well, I think in society, people have an unrealistic expectation of what life should be.
Yeah, good point.
Turn off the freaking Kardashians, turn off, you're not them.
Right.
You're not them.
And you don't know their real
To tell
story.
you the truth, the most messed up people are the richest people, because they got nothing to do with their time. The struggle to survive is part of the human experience, and it should be, to be a healthy, normal, balanced person. And going back to balance, and this is why I advocate for therapy, and this is the main premise of my nonprofit, is for young men to get into therapy, because the personality is there's so many layers to a personality, and there's so many layers to anger or fear or lack of hope, or there's so many layers to this, and only treatment, only therapy only therapy, I said it 3 times, will help you pull back those layers of what's wrong with you, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with you. You know, men so often, because of society, you're not supposed to show emotion. You're supposed to just man up. And this is what destroys people. You don't man up. Get into therapy. Talk to somebody. Talk to a priest. Priests and pastors are great therapists. You know, they might have an angle to what they're doing, but, you know, you have to talk about it. It's like that pressure valve. The more you talk about, so like say for instance, I don't know if you were abused or where you're coming from, but you've had a bad experience, right? Like something happened to you?
Child abuse. Yep.
Okay,
in my own home. Yeah.
So there, say for example, I don't know what your story is, but for example, like one of your parents came and just beat the hell out of you and left you alone and defeated. Da 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 da. So that experience was a traumatic experience. So that is I consider that to be like a weight.
Sure.
And that weight of that experience and that memory, it pulls you down.
Yeah.
And then when you get like 10 or 20 of those damn things, it's pulling you down.
Yeah.
The way to release the pressure and the weight from that experience is to keep talking about it. Talk about it. Tell the story one way. Tell the story another way. Tell how you felt about this aspect of the story. Tell about the feelings about that person. I mean, if you keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, your brain comes up with a way to kind of sort out, like, okay, I've got tools to deal with this now. You learn, your brain learns tools of survival.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It sure does. Yeah.
So, but without therapy, without talking about it, without exposing, like, say it's an infection, right? It's infection on your arm, and it's going to keep growing and getting worse and worse, only till you cut that infection and you let the pus out.
Yeah.
So that thing heal.
Right. Just putting a Band-Aid over that infection just makes it worse.
That's what I advocate. That's my life's work. That's what I do.
And like you said, manning up. Just man up. That really is a Band-Aid. You hadn't done anything with the infection.
Man up is the worst phrase that men could ever use to hurt each other. And it does no good. It does no good. Men are human beings. They can cry. They can freak out. They can feel, because emotions are considered feminine. Why? Why are emotions feminine? You know, this is why so many young men, they're in school. They don't know how to deal with anger. They don't know how to deal with anything. You know, they're on the video game, bam, bam, bam. And then when they get angry about something, they have no tools. Next thing you know, they're beating up some kid. Then they're in lockup because they don't have any tools to deal with this. There's nothing releasing that pressure. Society won't let you. And this is a crime. This is a crime against males. And why do I care about males? Well, I told you about that earlier. But also I've seen the damage in my ex-partners. I have a family member who was molested. You know, 2 family members who were molested. Males. And I saw what they went through, and I saw his path to recovery and my path to recovery. There were so many resources for me, so many people for me to talk to. He had nobody, and he was too ashamed to talk to anybody. And yeah, you know, so I don't know where this has to do with hope, but off the subject.
No, it has a lot to do with it. I think you're really expressing it well, and we all guys know that there's probably things, I guess probably all people, not just guys, but the girls too. I mean, we all know that there's stuff down there that we just don't want to talk about. We're too ashamed of it. We're embarrassed to talk about it. It might embarrass somebody else. It might make us look bad on our resume. There's all these things that just social pressures that keep us trying to look normal, whatever that means. I think normal means the people that don't share their stuff, right? And you're really right. It clears the air and it clears your mind when you can talk about it and start letting some of that out in a safe place. Start small. Share a little small story with a counselor or a pastor or a close friend, and then work out from there. Try another little bit bigger. Make sure they're not posting it on Facebook if you don't want them to, or whatever.
You know what? Another thing you could do, and what's helped me, is write the story. I don't care if it's 10 pages, write every detail, every feeling, every aspect of that story. What I did was I wrote my stories and I put them on a blog. That was a couple of years ago. But some people write that story, take it out to your backyard on the concrete, burn it.
Wow. Just get it out.
Nobody will ever know, and you got it out.
Yeah.
But reading the story and proofreading the story and adding more stuff, and as long as you get every aspect of how you feel about it out, in one way or another, whether you tell somebody or write it or whatever, it's out. That pressure of the wound.
Yeah. Good analogy.
Yeah.
So question 4 then, how are you sharing hope with people today? Now, obviously, through the organization that you're reaching so many men, older and younger, but you're doing a lot of hope sharing there. I want to dig into that more in a second. But first, as a regular person, there's a lot of us who don't have an organization. Like me, I don't have some fancy nonprofit that's super organized and I got programs and all these things going out. When I'm just heading over to Starbucks or, walking out the front door and waving to the neighbor, how do I share hope with other people? What are you doing?
Well, I put so much time in my nonprofit.
That's what you do.
That's enough.
Yeah.
By the way, you can always join my nonprofit.
Well, you took our phone call. I mean, seriously, that's a great way to share hope.
Why wouldn't I take your phone call?
I don't know. I just think it's really nice that you did, and that you took 30 or 45 minutes of your time, because a lot of people, that's a hard thing to get out of people because we're all busy, too busy.
I'm not too busy to serve God.
That's a good answer. Great. So when you're out in the community and you're seeing people at the grocery or wherever you're at doing your music, how do you just bring a little hope to somebody else who may be having a bad day? You don't know why.
Well,
I'm looking for some simple steps
I
there.
believe in social improvement and social change.
Okay.
If you see something that's messed up, evil prevails when good people do nothing. If you see something that's messed up and you say, hey, that's messed up, the people around you are going to hear that. Because when somebody's doing something messed up and other people can see it, they want other people to approve of it.
Huh.
For instance, somebody says something makes a racial comment. I don't like that.
Yeah, me either.
But when other people do that in public, they're really putting it out there, for other people to hear, and they're doing it in a public place.
See if they get a bite or a laugh. Yeah.
They're opening that up. And if somebody comes in and says, you're a jerk off, don't do that, they're going to look like a fool. That brings social change. That's what I think. Little incidences. Help the lady across the street. Do this, do that. It shows society the way to go.
You're right.
That's how I feel like, other than my nonprofit.
Sure, which is your cause, and all of us can get one of those. We're all passionate about something. Your nonprofit is a great one to be passionate about, but everybody can have a cause, because you all stew about something. We all think it over after we're going to bed at night. What in the world are they doing? I wish I could do something about that. I bet there's a nonprofit out there already to help with that problem. And if you don't have enough energy to start one yourself, there's so many ways to jump in. So tell us then, what are you're directly impacting, guys and young men with this issue of healing and preventing hard situations. How do you do that on a daily basis? You got your music stuff going on, but what are your active roles there? What does it take to do what you're doing? Some people want to start their own thing.
What does it take?
I mean, wow, you've come a long way. You've been doing this for how long? This organization?
Well, since 2008.
And what's the website?
Helpforguys.org.
Help for Guys. It's a really cool website, by the way. I think the picture on the far right is, it just blew my mind when I saw it.
Compelling.
Yeah. I'll let everybody go and find it on their own. Helpforguys.org, front page.
You can put in the word 4 or the number 4. We own it all.
So, I mean, you're reaching out to people. How are you reaching out to people through that every day? Are you interacting with guys one-on-one? Is it writing? Is it?
I have volunteers that run social networking sites. They're doing outreach every day. I do the bigger things like, people contact me. They ask for help. They ask for resources. I do anything I can. But I'm more into organizing the events of Male Abuse Awareness Week. That's every December 1st through 8th. So I'm organizing those events. I'm coordinating volunteers. I'm working with the board of directors, but I'm not going to kid you, Chris, this is a very hard cause. I find so much resistance. So many people, I can't get a corporate sponsor. They don't want to put their name on it. It's too controversial.
Wow.
So much of it is on my back. This year we've decided to make some real changes in the organization to try and make it, catapult it forward, because it's at a nice, healthy state, but I want it to get bigger, and because it's been at the same state for a few years, it's got to get bigger. But so I'm taking on some nonprofit mentoring, and I'm going back to classes, trying to figure it out.
I love it.
I could easily take on Save the Puppies. I mean,
yeah, everybody do that.
I'd make $1 million saving the puppies, but and I'm in a unique situation being a woman. I can talk about male abuse without any of that stigma, and just this conversation with you is an exercise in understanding my demographic, because when I went to go put together a brand new website, we've changed the name of the organization. We're letting go of the P. Luna Foundation. We're no longer being called that. We're just called helpforguys.org. So we've actually voted. It's officially no longer the P. Luna Foundation, because I just don't want anybody. If people get confused, well, why is it named after a recording artist? I'm retired from recording. It's all about the guys now.
Sure.
So Help for Guys. But where was I going with that?
Just what you were doing on a daily basis, and you're explaining that really well. So I
forgot where I was.
You're really involved. You're really involved with the big push you have in December, and then
yes. So anyway, I when I went to go do my new website for helpforguys.org, I didn't feel like I was really in touch with guys and what the problem is. And I just have to, every day I have to kind of understand the sensitivity of what's going on. And I think to understand the male brain,
good luck.
But so much of it is comprised of their image. And so much of it is comprised of what people think of them and what people expect of them. And what a heavy burden. A heavy, heavy burden.
But do girls not think that way too? I mean...
Well, I'm an artist. I don't really give a damn what anybody thinks. You can tell from, anything you've seen that I've done or what I've been a part of. I really don't care what people think. But I'm not a guy.
Yeah.
And if I need to reach guys, I need to understand them more.
Sure.
The more I talk to them, the more I talk to people like you, the more I understand. But it just seems like just an enormous burden to always worry about where your pecking order is, and are you perceived as cool or strong, or it's an amazing burden.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes, it is. I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean, I'm thinking through my own life.
Tell me what you're feeling.
I feel like you're absolutely right. So I'm like right now, I'm thinking through. Actually, there's a Chris's blog section on isharehope.com that is hidden, so you can't find it. And I have all these posts. I've been, writing my story, writing thoughts, writing what, eating a cheeseburger at some restaurant reminds me of, good or bad. And I tell you what, I'm scared to post those things because, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever else you go, I want people to feel better when they see what I'm doing. I want to encourage people. I want to have fun. I want to say happy birthday to somebody. I want to say, wow, what a great concert I went to. But, I worry that if I start exposing, well, here's what I really feel like. And here's what this day or this anniversary reminds me of. And, hey, I went to bed crying last night. Those kind of things you think, but what will that do to the rest of my life, My wife may know those things because we're really open with each other, but, I'm a consulting CEO. Will my clients think that's a great set of strengths for a CEO to have? Will people on social media say, you loser? Or, there it is. It's just, it's awkward and shy, and
it's a huge burden.
And I think
you can't even be yourself.
Yeah, and I should just say fuck it all and go for it and let it roll and see what happens, right? But you still have to think of what's going to happen. Honestly, it was.
I've done a lot of things where what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But, and if you're in the corporate world, my God, that's even worse.
Well.
That's even worse. That's a lot of. Oh my God, wow.
But honestly, your comment there means and that just emphasizes how much the corporate world needs that change, because you can't keep your suit and tie on and stay behind your little desk all your life and come out healthy. It's.
Well, what about this? Why not have another separate profile of people that really, people don't give you love or money or shelter or whatever you need. Who cares what they think?
Mm-hmm.
So you could have another account that people that. I'm sorry, that's my cell phone.
That's awesome. What did it say?
Come on, Barbara. This Hispanic lady friend of mine, she just says it's so funny. But
that's
anyway,
great.
have a separate account with the people that you really care about and the things you want to express to them, and go ahead and express them. You don't have to express them to everybody. You can be selective on who hears what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. Great point. Well, hey, whoever listens to this episode just got a little peek into Chris's life, and I'm going to see how this one goes. So.
Oh gosh, I haven't lost my touch after all. So you said. So you said you were a victim of child abuse?
Yeah, by my father. So a male abusing a male, which is probably fun for your research. And honestly, if there's any Q&A you have for me on that whole topic of how that plays out, not trying to get into nitty-gritty details of abuse, but I mean, how that plays out, but just a father abusing a son, it's a unique dynamic that fortunately not a lot of people get to be part of, but way too many are part of that, Yeah. But
I mean, just the fact that you're talking about it now, that shows a lot of courage.
It's because of people like you. Really, I was scared to death to do this before I started recording these types of interviews, and then I realized, man, you gotta have to be a little bit real in these too. You're asking somebody to share their secrets. You better start opening up, and it's step by step, but.
How does it make you feel after
what I just shared with you didn't make me feel anything awkward or bad or anything. I'm you kind of get closer and closer to the fire, and you get used to it, and you can handle it. And it makes me feel less burdened because I said it.
That weight we were talking about.
Yeah, you got it. Well, we are totally into question 5, which is simple steps to start growing in hope or sharing hope with others. And I think we're all over that with just releasing that buildup of pressure by talking it out with somebody, and talking about your feelings and talking about your experiences and talking about what reminds you of those things, and the stuff that you can keep the cool face on at the nonprofit event or the party or the business meeting, but when you walk out of there you might be shaking like a leaf because somebody was wearing the same cologne as your abuser, or somebody said some word that just reminded you of a traumatic situation in your past, or
is that what you're experiencing?
I'm saying that kind of stuff, that's PTSD. I mean, I'm just saying there's lots of...
Yeah, that is classic PTSD.
Yeah, it really is. But there's lots of situations that are traumatic for people. If you came back from a war, or if you've been abused as a child, or if you were in a fire.
No, you're discounting.
Oh, I'm really not trying to. I'm trying to say, my experience is traumatic, but there's lots of other experiences that are traumatic, and it is good no matter what experience you've had. I'm not discounting. Hang on. No matter what
discounting your own.
Well, I'm not trying to. Let me finish up. So no matter where you've come from, I need, this happens to be my story. I need to talk about my story. If coming back from war happens to be your story, you need to talk about your story. The point is, no matter what, guy or girl, bottling it up ain't going to do anybody any good. It's not going to do you any good, and it's not going to do me any good. And you're really encouraging me to, keep taking those steps forward and keep opening it up more and more.
Well, I want you to send me an email tomorrow and let me know if this interview helped you at all, or not helped you, but inspired you.
Yeah. See if I feel the same way tomorrow. or if it
Yeah,
wore off.
but I don't want you using sentences where you're discounting, well, other people were abused, so I should just freaking get over it. I don't want you to get into those
No,
thought patterns.
and that's not what I was all saying. I really don't
Okay.
believe that at all. I was just saying other people, there's lots of ways you can be traumatized in life, and to just stuff them isn't going to do anybody any good. I'm learning that in my own life with my own story. There's lots of stories out there that need to talk. Besides, not discounting them.
But just you're doing this is your vehicle to, help you with your own healing process.
Really is. So I have to ask then. Well, let me just go ahead and do this. Let's make sure we get down real clear. Where can we find you? Social media, websites, what else you got? Make sure we have it. What do you have there that we can follow you on?
Okay, go to helpforguys.org.
Okay.
That's my website. I'm not a real social media kind of person. I have volunteers that love that. They are, especially, go to Male Abuse Awareness on Google Plus. I have a volunteer over there named John. He's probably my top volunteer. Has so many guys over there, and he's a guy. Mm-hmm. He's talking about male abuse. He put out his story. He was sexually abused. I mean, he's on the social media all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm doing more administrative sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So, but you can, I appreciate emails, straight contact with me. I don't need a shield. You want to talk to me, come to me.
Do you want us to put your email out there on this? Or do you want to?
If they go to helpforguys.org, they can go to
Great.
contact, and I'll get their email.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. We're going to put helpforguys.org and any other helpful sites you want us to share on isharehope.com. If you go under the interviews tab, you will find Barbara Ochoa's interview.
If you Google male abuse awareness,
mm-hmm.
you are going to find all the volunteer social media.
Nice.
You're going to find lots of social media. It's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. They're everywhere.
Nice. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So then my question was going to be, how are you healing on your own life since you're dealing with something that's not you? So you picked up a cause that, you're not a guy. You've been through abusive situations, but why didn't you pick up the cause for women who've been abused?
Oh, okay. Well, as I stated in the beginning of the conversation,
guys need the help. There's a chain there. Yeah.
If we can, I was abused by men. If those men would have probably gotten some help when they were young, they might not have abused me.
Gotcha. I see. You're just taking it back to the source.
No, I believe in inoculating problems. I don't believe in putting Band-Aids on it. Mm-hmm. I believe in finding a solution.
I love it.
Works.
Yeah, I love that.
If you help one, okay, let me give you an example. Child molester. Say you got a child molester, pedophile man,
mm-hmm.
and he likes little boys.
Mm-hmm.
In his life, they have documented some pedophiles can victimize anywhere from 30 to 1,000 kids.
Yeah, I've heard those. Yeah.
Okay. So if the recidivism, am I saying that
recidivism, right? I think.
Recidivism.
You might be right, though.
The cycle of abuse goes into is carried on by 30%. So you got 100. Say this child molester produces he molests 100 kids, right? Out of those 100 kids, 30 of them are going to go to molest 100 more kids. Do the math.
Yeah, you're multiplying.
Right. So if somebody would have stopped that kid who was hurting, who didn't understand why children and sexuality even go in the same sentence,
mm-hmm.
he would have gotten into some therapy. He would have gotten some help. He would have talked to some people that had some, we're going down the wrong path and the wrong feelings. Or this goes with men that molest girls, men that rape women. This goes into the gamut. Domestic mm-hmm. violence. You can stop one man from becoming a child molester. You save thousands of kids. You can have one man and stop him from beating his wife because he saw his mother being beat when he was a kid. You've maybe saved the lives or women, like 3 or 4 women in their lifetime from being injured or killed.
Good point.
This is helping children. This is helping women.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's hard to sell it though.
Yeah, but you're getting to the root of it versus just the surface signs, which we feel compassionate about.
Yeah, well, it's hard to sell. I'm having a hard time selling it to you.
No, no, I get it. I get it.
Okay,
My story lines up really well with what you're doing, but I get it. You really are going for the root of the problem. But it is easier to sell. I hate to say it that way, but please understand the context. It's easier to sell the victim when it comes to raising money than it is to sell the perpetrator, because the perpetrator turns people away and kind of makes them go ooh, and the victim is the one who's, we all feel compassionate about. It's easier to open the checkbook up for that, and it is a harder sell.
But they are opening the checkbook. When you look at statistics, child abuse causes, I don't even remember what the latest statistic is, but over $1 billion a year is just spent in the United States to help victims of abuse.
Yeah, I know.
You are paying for it, honey.
Yeah, you
paying
are.
For it. I'm paying for it. You're paying for it. I mean, we could reduce that burden on society if we would just help these young guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I know what you mean by opening your checkbook. That's true. But they're not looking at the big picture.
They don't realize it's getting pickpocketed. If they're not opening the checkbook, somebody's going to steal it. Yep, because it's happening in society. The money's getting spent. You gotta.
Yeah. They go to the emergency room. You're spending your tax dollars.
Keep buying Band-Aids.
They're going to services. They're going to foster care. They're going into this. They're going into that.
Mm-hmm.
Trials for rapists, murders. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We're paying for it.
Yeah, we are. And so many of those guys who've gotten mixed up in this stuff really do have a pretty abusive backgrounds. It's pretty sad.
If they just had tools to deal with their strange feelings and their anger and their emotions but nobody says, well, nobody's sitting there asking questions like, why don't these men have tools to deal with anything? Well, because we haven't given them any tools to deal with anything.
Yeah.
So, we could go on about that forever.
Helpforguys.org is the place to go to go on about that.
Me straight up. I'm a straight, no fuzz. Just come straight to me if you want to talk to me.
I love the style.
Go to the contact, email me, whatever you want to know.
I'm with you. Okay, so Barbara, I'm just gonna cut this little section out here for a second. We're 52 minutes into your time. We're about 40 minutes into the real interview, and I want to be sensitive to your time. You're a busy girl, and I really appreciate your time.
Oh, I'm having fun.
I am too. I think it's great. I love your style. So let me put a note in here let me put a note in here for the guy who helps me with audio editing so he can see. Let's see, 52, probably 30. Hang on, and then I'm going to do some quotes here for I Share Hope. So we usually take a let's see. All right, we're going to take a couple of quotes here because when we start the interviews, we'll take some snippet of the conversation that's appropriately in context, not twisting your words at all, and we start the episode out with that. So the first thing somebody hears when they hit play on their iPod or whatever is your voice with some quotable line that you've said during the interview, and then at the end of that line you'll be saying your name and I Share Hope, or your name. I would say I'm Chris Williams, host of I Share Hope and I Share Hope, or I'm Chris Williams, consultant and I Share Hope, or you would say your name and I Share Hope, or your name and a little about you and I Share Hope. Either way you want, but I want to make sure we have that quote nice and clean and clear. So I'm going to mute my mic and let you just.
I'm clear. You want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, introduce yourself. You're going to introduce. You're going to hear a quote at the beginning of the episode. People will hear a quote from you, and then they're going to hear you say your name and I Share Hope. It's kind of the way we open every show. It's kind of fun. So you can say whatever you want. Just get your name and the words I Share Hope in there somewhere. I'm going to mute.
Okay.
Unless you have a question for me.
No, I'm not clear, but okay. I'll roll with it.
So right now, if I was in your role right now, I'd be saying, I'm Chris Williams, host of I Share Hope, and I Share Hope.
I'm Barbara Ochoa. I Share Hope, and I should tell about my
yeah. You can say your name and I Share Hope, or you can say your name and I run an organization called helpforguys.org, and I Share Hope.
I get it. Okay. Hi. I'm Barbara Ochoa, and I share hope by helping abused males through my website, helpforguys.org. And I'm here to inspire and bring hope.
That was great. That was perfect. Now I'll do one with, let me get a couple of takes here. Do one with just your name and I share hope, and then we'll do another idea after that. So just your name and I share hope.
Hi, I'm Barbara Ochoa, and I share hope.
Perfect. Now do, hi, I'm Barbara Ochoa. I have a organization called helpforguys.org, and I share hope.
Hi, I'm Barbara Ochoa. I have an organization called helpforguys.org, and I share hope.
I paused it. You couldn't even hear me. If you,
I know you said that was all I was supposed to say.
that was perfect.
Okay.
That's great. You got it all. If there's some creative genius you got going on there that says, "Oh, I got to do this one," then fire away. But otherwise,
I
we're
just
good.
did what you told me to do.
You're perfect. All those are great. All right. So, question, just random stuff. I think of these things and I take notes while I'm talking so I can make sure I don't forget. When are you nervous? Like, you sing in front of audiences. You're talking about really awkward subjects all day long, and you're a big activist, and you just seem to be like, bring it on, world. Are you ever walking into any situation where you're like, oh crap, here we go?
No, like I said earlier, I mean, I let go of the burden of giving a shit what people...
Beep. I don't
Giving
care.
a bleep about what people think.
I don't care.
I truly don't care what people think. Unless they're, unless I got to put on a front for a job or something.
Yeah.
Or, a gig or something. But I let go of that burden of caring what people think a long time ago.
Good for
And
you.
what makes me nervous? I don't know.
Nothing. Okay.
Nothing.
Love it.
Nothing really.
All right. So, longtime musician, what's your favorite song right now? If you said, my favorite band, favorite track, what is it?
You wouldn't know my favorite.
Oh, just bring it on. I want to hear
My
it.
favorite band is it's between the Beatles and the Gypsy Kings.
Those are great. And favorite track?
My favorite track?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Beatles
My
or Gypsy
favorite
Kings?
song of all time? It has to be Let Love Rule by Lenny Kravitz.
Nice choice.
Love Let Love Rule.
Nice
Yeah.
choice. Good. Okay, so you live in San Francisco. We were just there a few weeks ago visiting, and the streets are crazy small, and all the houses are so cool, stacked on top of each other, just like you see in the movies if nobody's ever been there. It's a beautiful place. Honestly, it's like New York on the West Coast. It's what New York should be. Sorry, New Yorkers.
It's an interesting place.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, is it? Do you have your own car? Do you walk public transit? I mean, how do you get around? It seems like a really tight place to find parking and move around in.
No, I have a car.
So it's not like New York.
About 15 minutes south of downtown.
Is it a pain to drive in every day? Is it pretty easy to get in where you're going? Okay, cool.
I mean, I lived in LA, so they don't even know what traffic is after. They say there's traffic up here in San Francisco. They don't know what traffic is. Traffic is you sitting in a parking lot and going about 5 feet every 10 minutes. That's what traffic is.
Yeah,
This is a joke. We have the best public transportation. What I love about San Francisco is the cultural diversity.
I know.
There's just
everybody.
God, I mean, just in my neighborhood, you've got every people from all over the world.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Real culturally diverse. So many different languages and foods and yeah.
That's
it's an
cool.
interesting place. It really is.
And then, so we, just being dumb tourist, we drove down what's that curvy street called with all the flowers on it that goes down the steep hill, and it's like the picture spot.
Lombard?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. You see it in tons of movies. It's in the Herbie movies. It's in every movie. So, we're doing the dumb tourist thing, driving up and down that thing. Do you ever drive or walk on that street as a real San Francisco native or a resident at this point?
When people come to visit, I take to that street.
But you try to avoid it otherwise?
No. I just, it's just, I'm not a real into touristy things. I'm more into people and culture and,
Yeah.
There's
a lot of people there holding cameras, but not much culture going on there.
No, there's a lot of culture. It's just, it's a very interesting place. I mean, it's so tech-headed. I mean, it's a very tech-headed place. But what's happening is there's such a disconnect of human connection.
Mm-hmm.
that it becomes a very lonely. It's very lonely. I don't even know how. It's so bizarre that it's hard to describe.
Yeah, I bet. No, I think that's the case with a lot of packed cities. The tighter you get them, the more lonely we feel. I don't know why that is, but all right, last question. I promise.
Okay.
If somebody's traveling to San Francisco, we saw some really cool places, great restaurants. There's just so much there. What is the place you got to say, if you're coming and just visiting for a week, you've got to go to this place or see this thing?
I think Chinatown is fascinating.
It is. You're right.
I think Chinatown is fascinating. If you got one day, go to Fisherman's Wharf, go to Ghirardelli and have the hot fudge sundae. It is a life-changing experience.
It smells so good when you walk in that place. All right, good. Well, Barbara, I am so grateful, honestly, for your time and for the energy you're pouring into guys all over the world that are being helped with what you're doing. You really are doing it.
I hope I'm helping people because it's so hard sometimes to keep going with so much resistance. So much resistance to the cause. But, then there's people like you who are like, okay, well, I have a purpose now. So you've given me hope. You truly gave me hope.
Well, thanks. I appreciate
you
taking the time to do it. I
feel inspired to get back to work on my company today.
Please do. We haven't known each other before this conversation, and your work is doing something because I came across your organization looking for where do I start connecting and reaching out and finding a place to have a community.
Was Help for Guys a good place for you? Did you feel like you could find information?
Yes.
And didn't feel alone anymore?
It is a springboard for so many other conversations. Yeah. You did it.
No, it was a bunch of guys that actually designed it for guys. It was designed by guys for guys because I'm not a guy. So I just told the guys, I'm like, you do it. And obviously what they're doing is working.
You nailed it. I've seen a lot of sites because I've looked for where do I find help or support or conversation or whatever about these issues. And yours is by far the most natural site I've ever been on that clicks with my head. And if that's because it was designed for a guy, then good job.
It's the hub. Because everybody else is connected to it. Everybody else that does anything having to do with male abuse is linked to my site. Everybody's connected to it.
Well done.
I'm the gathering place. Well, not me, but
if they only knew, there's some woman at the middle of this whole thing. Awesome. Barbara, thanks. I really appreciate your time.
I had a good time.
I did too. You're so fun to talk to. So encouraging and just funny.
I want to post this interview everywhere for Male Abuse Awareness Week now.
Awesome. Yeah, that's December what? Tell me the dates.
December 1st through 8th.
Okay, and I'm sure that we're going to have, we talked about that earlier in a meeting with my group here, that we're going to have this ready for that event. Yay. Because if you're still listening in, the event that's coming up then in the next week or two is definitely one worth checking out. And you can find information about that at helpforguys.org.
Thank you.
Okay. Barbara, good talking to you. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
You too.
Thanks.
God bless.
All right, bye-bye.
You've just listened to I Share Hope. If you're ready to make a change, head to our website at isharehope.com and claim your free copy of the top 10 actions of hope from world leaders to use hope in your own life. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.